There's a prediction floating around from the World Ethical Data Foundation that I can't stop thinking about. They say that this year, 2026, we'll discover a real business that turns out to be run entirely by AI. Owner, marketing, accounting, all of it. And nobody will have noticed until after the fact. I'm David, this is Confessions of a Tech Optimist, and today it's again just me. Because I want to do something a little different. I don't want to debate whether AGI is coming. I want to walk into the building. I want to picture the actual corporate world on the far side of it, and be honest about what I see, even the parts I don't like. So let's start with when, because AGI used to be a sci-fi word, and now it's on earnings calls. Some analysts, using a strict, measurable definition, put it at a 50% chance by 2028, 80% by 2030. Others say human-level performance on all economically valuable work lands closer to 2047. That's a 20-year spread, which tells you the experts are basically guessing with confidence. But notice, every single one of those numbers is a when, not an if. The conversation quietly stopped being about whether. And here's the part that genuinely thrills the optimist in me. Picture the agentic enterprise the way its believers describe it. One instruction: grow revenue in this segment. And a fleet of specialized agents plans the campaign, writes the content, runs the analysis, adjusts the pricing, handles the follow-ups. Analysts are already calling these agentic factories, pods of AI tied directly to revenue or risk. By one forecast, 40% of business applications have autonomous agents baked in by the end of this year. IDC says nearly half of all organizations will orchestrate agents at scale by 2030. And the dream version of this is beautiful. A company where the drudgery just dissolves. No one waiting 3 days for a report. No one rekeying invoices at midnight. The humans freed up to do the things only humans do. Imagine, connect, decide what matters. That's the future I've been selling on this show. Agents on the labor, people on the meaning. But, okay, this is where I have to slow down and be honest, because when I actually walk further into this building, the rooms start looking different than the brochure. Let's go up to the top floor, the boardroom. There's a prediction from industry experts that in 2026, companies start integrating what they're calling shadow boards. AI systems sitting alongside the human board of directors, simulating scenarios, crunching the complex decisions, advising the CEO. And everyone's careful to say, oh, they won't replace human directors. For many years. That's the phrase people use when they mean, yes, eventually, but I'd like you to stay calm right now. And I keep noticing the pattern in every one of these predictions. They describe extraordinary autonomy, agents that plan, execute, decide, self-correct, run entire workflows end to end, and then, in the very next sentence, they reassure you. And of course, people oversee it all. But think about that honestly. If the system plans, executes, and adjusts on its own, oversight isn't a job for a department. It's a job for a handful of people watching dashboards. The org chart doesn't shrink a little, it inverts. There's a line from one of these industry reports that I think is the most honest sentence in the whole genre. They wrote, "The question is no longer capability, it's control." Sit with that. They're not debating whether the machines can run the company anymore. That's assumed. The entire remaining conversation is about governance, trust layers, control towers, audit trails, managing the identities of AI agents that are approving purchases and routing sensitive data, and eventually making hiring decisions. We've fast-forwarded past "can it work?" straight to "how do we keep it on a leash?" So let me steelman the optimist against myself one more time, because I owe it that. Every prior wave of automation destroyed categories of work and created new ones we couldn't have named in advance. The ATM didn't end bank tellers. It changed what they did. Maybe the autonomous enterprise is the same. Maybe AI orchestrator, and agent manager, and governance architect become the good new jobs, and I'm just failing to imagine them, the way someone in 1995 couldn't picture social media manager. And honestly, that might be right. I hope it's right. New roles are appearing. Someone has to design these systems, correct them, own the outcomes when they fail. But here's what nags at me, and I can't argue my way out of it. Every previous wave automated tasks. This one automates the thing that used to be safe: coordination, judgment, deciding. The stuff we told everyone to climb toward. For decades, the advice was, Don't do the repetitive work, move up, become the person who decides. And the autonomous enterprise is aimed, precisely, at the deciding. That's not the floor of the building getting automated, that's the elevator. So here's my confession. When I really picture the AGI-era corporation, the agentic factories, the shadow boards, the company that quietly runs itself, I see something magnificent, and I see that it has very little room in it for me, or for most of the people I know. Not because we're not smart, because the whole design goal, if you read the predictions plainly, is to need fewer humans in the loop. That's not a side effect anyone's hiding. It's the value proposition. Scale without exponentially increasing headcount. That's a direct quote from the pitch. Read it again slowly. It means, grow the output, not the people. And I don't think that makes it evil. I want to be clear. A world where a handful of people can build something enormous, that's genuinely, wildly empowering. Especially for the young founder, the tiny team, the person who could never afford 100 employees. There's real democratization in it. The autonomous enterprise gives one person the reach of 1,000. But that same magic, pointed at an existing company full of existing people, does something very different. The optimist's version and the frightening version aren't two different technologies. They're the same technology, seen from two different seats. If you're starting out, it's a superpower. If you're already inside, it might be a countdown. So what does the corporate world look like when we get there? I think it looks smaller, not smaller in output, bigger than ever in output, smaller in people, flatter, a few humans holding the controls of systems that do the work a whole floor used to do. And the central question of a career stops being, what can I do that's valuable? And becomes, what can I do that a company can't get from an agent for a fraction of the cost? That's a harder question than I'm used to asking on an optimism podcast. Here's where I land, and it's not clean, because I don't think it should be. I'm not telling you to fear this. Fear is useless, and the timeline's uncertain anyway. But I am telling you to stop assuming the human in the loop is you by default. In the autonomous enterprise, being in the loop is a position, a small number of seats, and they're going to the people who understand these systems well enough to steer them. So the move, starting now, isn't to outwork the agents. You can't. It's to become the person who directs them. To move from doing the task to owning the outcome, to governing the machine that produces it. Because the confession underneath all my confessions is this. I've spent months promising you technology makes things better, and I still believe it makes things better, in aggregate, over time, for the world. I'm just no longer sure better for the world and better for the person currently doing the job are the same sentence, and the autonomous enterprise is where that gap stops being philosophical and shows up in a quarterly headcount plan. So, that's the building. That's what I see inside it. Go get familiar with these tools now, while human in the loop still has room in it. Not because the machines are coming for you tomorrow, because the seats are being assigned today. That's my confession this week on Confessions of a Tech Optimist. If it made the future feel a little more real and a little more urgent, good, that means it worked. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. Leave a comment and share this with someone who thinks they're safe because they're the one giving the orders, especially them. I'm David. See you next time.